Hi, I'm Bob Penafeather with Auburn Regional Media Access, and our guest today that we're going to talk with for a while is Sheriff David Gould, which is over to my left right here, and he is retiring at the end of December after many years in law enforcement. David, I want to introduce you because you have been in law enforcement for 49 years?
Almost 50.
Almost 50,
Bob,
50
yeah.
years. I mean, that's amazing. And
It's
so,
just at your age, just 50.
That's 50, yeah.
I started when you were born.
I wish it was. But David and I go back, way back, over the years, and so a lot of the stories we won't be able to tell on public TV. But
That's for sure.
But I've been on the road for 47 years. He's been on his job with law enforcement for 49 years. Why I lost my hair and he still has his is completely.
That's another long story.
I just don't understand it.
Yeah.
So, at that, I was going down through, David, and looking at, your resume and everything. I mean, it's nothing short of impressive. I thought I had a pretty good resume with all the jobs I had in my time, but I fell short by 4 pages compared to yours. So, 49 years in a profession. So one of my first questions is, how did you get in?
I had no idea, Bob. When I graduated from high school, 1965, Union Springs High School, I went to college. During college, I ended up in the Army, U.S. Army, overseas. Got out in 69. Before I actually got out, my dad sent me something. I was overseas. He says, "Do you want to take the trooper's test?" Yeah, he asked me what I wanted to do in life. I said, "I have no idea what I want to do in life."
Was your father a trooper?
No, my father was an engineer. SU graduated from SU as an engineer. He worked for the State Dormitory Authority.
All right.
And I told him, I said, "Dad, I have no idea what I want to do. If I like the service, maybe I'll stay in the Army for 25 years or something." But anyhow, I ended up taking the trooper's test while I was actually in the service. Ended up, they took 200 out of 40,000 that took it that year. They took 200 troopers. I was lucky enough to get a high enough score. Started the troopers in 1970 and ended up almost a 35-year career in the state police, and then DA's investigator for 2 years in Cayuga County, and then sheriff now for 12 years. So
Yeah.
I really didn't know when I was in the service what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
When I graduated from high school, I wanted to be a gym teacher. I wanted to either teach in a school, high school, or a college. I wanted to be a phys ed, maybe a phys ed director somewhere, but
Yeah.
that's all I thought about was sports back then.
Yeah. So you've always been from this area?
Always been. I was born and brought up in the village of Cayuga,
Yeah.
and my parents lived there for a long time. And I've lived in Cayuga County except for being in the service and being stationed out of town a little bit with the state police all my life.
No, the state police was always around here, or did you end up in Canandaigua and Watertown area? Or?
I was in Canandaigua, was out of Troop B, which is Canandaigua. The
Yeah.
farthest east they cover is Cayuga County, the farthest west is Monroe,
Yeah.
and then all the way down to the Pennsylvania border. There's 10 counties that Troop B covers,
Yeah.
and I was in Troop B my whole career.
Jeez.
Most of it, a lot
I
of
mean,
it.
that's impressive. That
major
really is. I
crimes.
mean, in today's world, it was just on Fox Business News
Mm-hmm.
this morning that there's a massive shortage of law enforcement.
Sure is.
Who'd ever thought that would ever happen when years ago you couldn't even get into the troopers,
I know.
even with high marks.
That's what I said. 40,000 took it
I mean,
back in
yeah, I mean,
1969.
if that was a job to have, and you couldn't get in.
Well, I blame a lot of that, and maybe the word blame is wrong. The way the media has treated the police force, wherever you work, whether it be a county sheriff, a city PD, a state police, anywhere in this country,
Yep.
some of the coverage has just been horrible.
Yep.
Very biased against police, and it
Yep.
still is.
Yeah, big time.
And
Yeah.
there's so many police officers out there that do so many good things every day.
Yeah.
And if people were taking films of the good things that police officers are doing instead of the terrible things, and we got some bad apples.
Yeah.
Every occupation does.
Everybody does.
And-
10%ers, the service used to say.
Yeah, and I think it's less than that in
Yeah.
the police agencies throughout the country. If every good deed was filmed and sent into the media, and a lot of it is, but the
Yeah.
media won't cover a lot of
I
it
know it.
because it doesn't sell stories.
I know a lot of people in the law enforcement in the years, local and otherwise, and I don't know one bad one. I mean, some do a better job than others, but I don't know one bad one.
I've met a few in my career because I've met so many police officers. We've had one in the state police that was a bad apple, and he got caught and he went to prison. I believe he's still in prison for
Jesus.
forging some evidence and stuff. So there is one in every group of people, whether it be whatever occupation they are. You've got that certain percentage.
You're not going to eliminate. You're not going to get
can't do
100.
it.
You don't get 100% of anything. You
It's
try,
too bad, but
it's
you
just-
don't.
You
You're right.
don't. That said, to the young viewers and to the parents and grandparents that are watching the show that have their grandchildren, whatever, how would they get into law enforcement today? How would they get into the state police today? Is it wide open because of this massive shortage?
Well, it is open. I mean, it's open. Any agency's open. You have to take different tests. In county government, you have to take what's called a civil service test,
Right.
at least in New York State. And then that goes for the PDs and everything else, the city
For everybody,
PDs.
law enforcement only.
Except for state police. They have their own test. State police is separate from
Okay.
civil service. They
Right.
they don't fall under civil service law. So everything nowadays is online, naturally.
Yeah.
You can just go on to New York State Police and Google, the next test date and how to apply for your application.
Sure.
And the same thing with any PD or Sheriff's Department. Go online now, Cayuga County Sheriff's Department. You can Google it and it'll explain exactly how to apply and what your application, the due date for your application. And the same thing like with Auburn PD, any PD, Syracuse, whatever PD. So it's easy to find out nowadays.
Yeah,
The old days you
sure,
had to
anything.
depend on going on the news media and
Oh,
seeing
yeah.
it, but nowadays
Yeah,
everything's
mail and-
Googled. Yeah.
Is there a massive shortage in this area between all departments?
Well, there's not what I would call massive, but there is a shortage.
Okay.
There is. Right
Great
now,
job opportunity then.
it's great job opportunity. Auburn PD is looking for people. Syracuse PD is looking for people. State police are looking for people. They wanted a 500 this year to go through the State Police Academy. I know they got budgeted for 250, and it's up to the state budget if they apply.
Yeah.
Put the money out there for another
Yeah.
250. I hope they do. We can use all the police officers we can get out.
Yeah, boy. A great opportunity for the young
It is.
ones
It's a
going
great
in.
opportunity, and
I
it's
know
a
when I
great
come
occupation.
When I come out of the service, I experienced the same thing you did. When we were in, I was overseas. And, and they were promoting, especially in the Washington, Virginia area for police,
Police.
park police, state police, what have you. And so a lot went and took the test.
Yeah.
Myself and some of the guys from around this area didn't want to move, so.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
we didn't
Sometimes
do
you have to travel, especially
Yeah.
in the state police. You have
Yeah.
to travel.
Now, you were in the Army,
I was in the Army,
2 years,
2 years,
active duty.
active duty.
Whereabouts for your station?
Most of the time was in Germany, Bamberg, Germany, which
Okay,
is right outside of Nuremberg.
Yeah,
I went over the Middle East for a period of time, and I came back. That's when Israel was invaded by some of the Arab countries.
yeah,
So they brought us back to Germany to get maybe possibly deployed, wherever we needed to go. So, yeah, but I had a great. I mean, I would never have traded it for my whole life.
No.
It made me grow up and
Yeah.
become a good citizen. And
yeah.
I wish everybody had the chance to experience what it is to be a military person.
I hear that topic or that comment more today than ever before.
You're right.
Because when we come up through, as you well know, you got a letter.
Oh, yeah.
You got a letter, and next thing you're gone.
on.
The
Whether
bus
you want
pulls
it to
up,
or
and you're
not.
gone. You're
Yeah.
gone. And I was in the Navy over there in the Mediterranean, experiencing the same type of thing, where Middle East, and be sitting around having a couple of beers on a Saturday. Next thing you know, the Navy van go
You're
by
on
and
call.
say we're on our way
Yeah.
within 2 hours because something happened over in the Middle East. But the experience it's like a lot of things in life, I guess, when you look back, and you take the comparison and look
Oh my
back.
God, yeah.
Sometimes your sight is better looking back.
Oh, it's always, I think, better.
I sit there and go, I had a great ride, a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
People used to say, well, Jesus, in the Navy, all them European ports and everything, the Mediterranean.
Survived though, didn't you?
They said, yeah. I said, what'd you think of Europe and France and all that? And I said, first 2 blocks weren't bad.
Exactly. It was. I'll tell you, it was
Yeah.
just such a good. And you were there, so you know it.
Yeah.
And everybody who was in the service knows it. You meet so many people from throughout the country, and you
Yeah.
stay friends forever
Ever.
with military people. And it's police organizations are semi-military. That's why
Yes.
they're called semi-military. Everybody has each other's backs. You have to do that in the in the services, and you certainly have to do that in the police agencies. You have to depend on your your co-friend, your co-worker,
Sure.
to sometimes survive. And that closeness and that comradeship is just, that's what's great about the military. That's what's great about being a police
I'll
officer.
give you structure.
Absolutely
You know, when
structure.
you come out, they call it
Absolutely.
the old thing about chain of command, which still
It
exists.
still
A lot of
exists.
people don't think so, but
Yeah,
it still exists.
especially in the service.
You know, and yeah, and when we were in, I'll never forget, when we were out at sea when over the newspaper, a military newspaper, they said, "Geez, what's this lottery system?" And to this day, some people say, "What was your lottery number?" I said,
Yeah.
"Lottery number." I said, "We didn't have." You got a letter.
You got a letter and you're
You either
gone.
signed up or
Yeah.
you were going.
That's
One
right.
way or the other. You're not sitting around.
We're going to Canada.
No.
Thank
So-
God we didn't have a lot to do that.
No, I don't know one that did.
I don't know one that
You know, I don't
Thank God.
ask the question 'cause I don't want to know
Exactly.
because of what went on during the Vietnam era. But I go back and count our blessings that we ended up where we were
Absolutely.
during the Vietnam era.
Absolutely.
You know,
Very
and I
lucky.
was in with my best friend there, Sean Morsey,
Mhm.
and I spent on the same ship. And those orders come in 3 days apart. So that's another book. But
Yeah.
I mean, that does the military give you structure. It really
Sure
does.
does.
In fact, I make a comment a lot of times with these kids today that they're just bad. You can't, some of them you just can't straighten out. The teachers can't do anything with them. The schools can't do anything with them. And I said, you know something? Instead of going to prison or going to jail, you know, you've got this track record. You're going in service.
Service.
And you're going to go down to Paris Island for 6 months to boot camp. And if you make it through there, you know,
You'll be a man.
you
If
get
make
four.
it through
You
there,
get
you'll
four
be a man.
choices: Army, Navy, Marine, Air, and then you go through their boot camp. And if you make it through there, you get 4 choices. You want to be electrician, truck driver, medical. You know, we'll send you to school. And if you make it through there, you get 4 choices. You want to do Europe. You want to do Asia. Where do you want to go? On the,
Yeah.
you know, and by the time you get through all that, you're going to be in your early 20s. And if you mess up anywhere in between, you're going to be in a military prison, which is where you don't want
Want
to
to
be.
be, that's for sure.
And I wish somehow or other that would kick in because the schools and as we know teachers and we know many people in education, it's very, very frustrating
It
to
is.
hear the stories. And you know, if a kid student jumps out of the box and takes a swing at a teacher or swears at a teacher, I mean, you know what would happen to us back when
Back in the old
if we
days.
did it.
Now the
And
teachers
that's just
can't
in
even
school.
touch them. Yeah, I know.
And then when you got home, you got it again. So,
Well, you know, a lot of that blame, and there's to blame. There's to blame for a lot of in society for that. But the parents have got to take charge of children. And you know, the shame of nowadays, Bob, is a lot of times it's a single parent.
yeah.
It isn't like the old days where people, you know, had to stick it out, tried to stick it out a lot longer than nowadays.
Right.
Now some of these kids are being raised by either a single mom or a single dad. They don't have that double, you know, parenthood to look up to and to discipline them. And it's just, it's horrible. But the ones that are raising these kids have got to take more responsibility.
Yeah.
They got to know if these kids are out at midnight or 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock on a school night.
Yeah.
That's their problem and their problem to fix, not the schools. Parents have got to stand up
But what do you
and
do
take
when
more
they don't?
authority.
You know, what do you do when they don't, or they?
I know.
You know, for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And of course, drug comes into play here.
Well,
I'm
sure it does.
sure you obviously you see it a lot more than I hear about it. But you know, they got a couple of daughters that are teachers, and the horror stories are just.
Oh, it's unbelievable.
You know, it's a good thing I wasn't a teacher. I'd go through all school and everything. I'd be one day in class and be arrested, and I'd be in prison or something.
Well,
you know.
my brother was a teacher, and he ended up as principal down at Cooperstown, and so I've lived with some of the stories he's told me.
Oh.
For 35 years he was doing that, and it isn't like the old days either. The old days, I remember the principals had the little, you know, paddle, and that's what they did,
Yeah.
and you know that.
Sure they
And
did.
some of the people our age
Yeah.
know that. They can't do that anymore, which is understandable, but someone in that family has to stand up. Thank God we have grandparents that are taking care of a lot of these kids,
Yeah.
that are giving them some discipline and teaching them some life facts, because some of the parents right now are just not capable, and it's a shame. But
Boy, it is a shame.
grandparents are the best thing that ever happened to people.
I mean, how do you fix it? How do you? Because you hear it all the time. It becomes a round robin conversation, and then it goes nowhere. How do you fix it? I mean, my My input, I say, you know, give the teacher back to class
No, that's why you fix it.
and give the cops back the street.
Hmm.
And put them together as teams and let them come up with ideas and concepts on how to resolve it.
The trouble with this world now is this politically correct stuff.
Yeah.
And we're being taped and we're on TV, so I can't say what I want to say about it.
Well, we're politically correct.
But those days, you got to go back to the days where forget politically correct. We can
Right.
say Christmas,
Yeah.
and people can discipline kids.
Yeah.
Not abuse kids, but discipline kids.
Exactly. Exactly. It's just, I don't know. As long as we're on the education part, because that was another part of the notes is security, school security.
Mm-hmm.
You know, coming from a law enforcement of many years, you know, what are we doing for school security other than having one resource officer that's, hey, listen, God love them. They're going to try to do the job they can do if we ever have a bad case around here. But I won't mention the school, but it was local back in June. I walked in the front door. I walked down the hallway. I took a right and walked down another hallway. Never got stopped, never got asked, no nothing.
Nothing.
Nothing, zero. And I walked right by the main office.
Hmm.
And I'm going, come on, in today's world.
I know. There's a lot of changes that are being made. It all goes back to money. Everything does. The school systems and the school districts are strapped for money. We're all strapped for money, paying the taxes for it. So it all goes back to money. And I think Albany and Washington promised the schools a lot of money.
Yeah.
All after some of these school shootings for secure schools, and it never came to fruition. Some of in Albany, and they took it out of the budget, or they never gave the schools the money to, not fortify. That's the wrong word, because we're not fortifying our schools to make our schools safe.
Yeah.
You do need. I am in the full agreement of some of the schools that we need an armed resource officer in there. I'd love to see an armed police officer, not someone else that is a peace officer, a police officer, an active on-duty police officer in each school. And they're not there just for security. They're big brothers and big sisters. These students love these police officers in school. I know. I was on the state police when we first started with them. And they do. They like the security. They like the comradeship that these police officers and the treatment that they give the students. They really like it. The students like these police officers. I wish we could have one in every building of every school in this country. I know that the school districts can't afford that. I understand that. But they are there for people to think they're there just to, be the big brother, big sister, armed guard.
Yeah.
It's not true anymore.
Yeah.
They're there. They're very well liked by the students, and they're very well respected by the students. As long as you get the right fit, you got to have the right police officer in each school. You got to have a police
they've
officer
got to be supported. They
Gotta
got
be
to be
supported.
supported by the school,
and
by the
police,
teachers,
and by the police officer
and by
that's
the
in charge.
Yes, I mean they've got to, and I think that's a great idea. Is have them even teach the kids through them. A lot of way of teaching people.
Sure there is.
You can do it through actions and what have you, not be standing just in front of a class. And who knows? That's all future officers coming through. They have the potential to become police officers, local, state, whatever. And I don't know. It baffles everybody that you read all the schools putting things into turf, or they're putting it into this or putting it into that, and it's, well, what about security?
Well, it's getting better. It really is. So the schools are. I mean, there's a lot of budgets coming up. A lot of different ideas coming from the schools for as far as safety, working with the police departments that cover that area, and it is getting better. It's getting much better, and I think. I knock on wood here a little bit, but I can't remember of any school shooting since school started this year.
No.
And we get usually every notice that we get, something's working. Either the schools are cracking down on whatever it may be, or the systems are working, because I don't remember seeing anything since September, and we're almost through the first semester of school, which is an outstanding, great thing.
Yeah.
It really is. One thing we got to really, really take into consideration, Bob, is the mental health part of our country. There's so many people with mental health problems, and including kids in school. We really need to put some money and a lot more money into that. It's getting better. It really is. But we need to catch some of these students that really have problems, and then most of it starts at home, have problems with mental health and being bullied and stuff like that. This is getting better. our kids now are better than they ever were as far as anti-bullying. There's groups out there that actually go around in schools, the groups that if they see one of their fellow students bullying somebody, they will turn them in, they'll, ignore that person, and it really is working. There's some great kids in our schools nowadays.
Oh yeah, no question.
And that there's not nearly as much bullying as there was when we were young or a few years ago. And that's going to help these kids as far as any kind of violence and stuff. It's going to help them.
Yeah.
If they know that they're not going to be bullied, they're not afraid to go to school, and there's police officers there to help them. There's psychiatrists, there's maybe psychologists, therapists there to help them if they have problems. And there's a lot of kids that have problems at home.
When a teacher sees it, because when I listen, and it's a laser beam topic, you can have the same topic here that you have in California in schools.
Sure.
And I've listened to all the comments over the years, and I bundle them together and say, something, regardless of where you're at, they're facing the same issues
Absolutely.
with students.
Mm-hmm.
And I hear the teachers, I hear the frustration of teachers because they're not getting the backing, or they don't have a say-so, or being politically correct, because the ones above want to be politically correct. Absolutely. And they don't, so they'll bend to the parents more so than back the teacher. And I have a hard time with listening to that stuff. But is there a panel, do you see locally where there's a team of teachers working with the police, on an ongoing basis, exchange of ideas, programs to address these issues? Or is it just something that's out there flowing along and getting better more by mistake than on purpose?
I think it's got to start with every state capital. Every state is different, Bob, but I think it's got to start with these teachers don't have the leeway, the authorities that they used to have.
No.
None whatsoever. There's different state laws in different states that you cannot touch a kid. You can't, even if he's doing something to someone else, or if he's punching you, you got to be careful. You can't hit him back. You can't do this. And I don't mean hit back, but you got to protect yourself as a teacher. That's why a while ago there was a shortage of teachers. I mean, they had not a shortage. There was so many teachers.
Now
you didn't have a shortage. Now
Yeah.
there's a shortage.
Yeah.
Just like police officers.
Yeah.
You gotta let people be human beings and do their jobs and protect themselves and protect other people. And that's got to start in the school with the teachers. Albany and these other state capitals got to let teachers have some leeway here.
They gotta let them do their job.
They got to let them do their job, and their job is not just teaching. It's to keep the other students safe and keep themselves safe. There's so many teachers nowadays that are being assaulted in our schools. It's a shame, and they got to be able to protect themselves.
The worst statement I can always hear is, "I can't wait to get out and retire. I'm getting done as soon as I can as a teacher." And I'm talking some good teachers.
Sure.
They just can't take it anymore. He says, "How bad?"
Because they don't have backing. They don't.
That's what I'm
and it's
saying.
not local, because I think I know every district superintendent in this county.
Right.
They are supportive of these students. It's the laws that Albany's making. It's the micromanaging from Albany and all the other state capitals that, I think half of the people that are micromanaging in Albany probably never been a teacher, but they're trying to tell teachers what they can and can't do.
That'd be like me telling you how to do your job.
Yeah, you got it.
And all I know how to do is speed.
I would have never known that.
Oh dear. No, that's an ongoing
Sure
problem, but it's just I guess you sit and again you listen to these conversations, and I boil it down to a teacher in 3rd or 4th grade to identify a student that's going to be a problem. The teacher knows it, sees
Sure.
it. We can't walk in somebody's house and straighten them out, but if they get into a public building, to me, whether it's a courthouse or whether it's a city hall or whether it's a school building or a public street, well, there's rules and regulations, and they've got to be taught that. In fact, I've had the conversation. I says I think kids ought to learn law, basic street stuff, starting in 6th grade, because the teacher will see the student in 3rd or 4th grade, and they'll look and say, "This is a problem student." By 7th or 8th grade, the police is picking them up off the street.
I know, I agree with that. I have the utmost respect for teachers in our society, whether it be in our state, our county or our country.
Yeah.
I really do. Again, for the second time, their hands are just tied, and it's not fair to them.
I don't know.
It's not fair at all.
I don't know how you turn that.
Well, it's got to turn by state laws have got to be changed.
The
State
politicians
laws
have to get involved.
absolutely got to be.
And
They got to get their hands off and let the teachers teach, and to do it with discipline, because you can't teach anything unless you have discipline.
right. No, you can't. Hey, listen, you know it as well as I do. You know, these kids are going to school today. It's worse today because they get on social media.
Oh, sure.
And that they don't realize when they go for a job, regardless of what it is, first thing that company or organization is going to do is go right back and bring up on social media.
Sure, there.
And they're going to bring it up and say, what's this all about?
I know.
You know? And it can hinder them getting a job.
Certainly.
Give
can.
me the best part, the most fun time you've had, or the best story over the years in your job.
Well, see, you didn't tell me this before we got here. I would have thought that out. There's some great times I've had.
There's a reason. You want me to give you something?
There's some great times. You know, I said this. I was on with Dan Cummings the other day, and I said this, that the 1980 Olympics, that was probably one of my best times. It was just, we had trained 80 of us in the state police in 1978 to become hostage negotiators because of the 1980 Olympics in Munich, where the Jewish athletes were killed.
Right.
And so we trained not knowing what was going to happen at the 1980 Olympics in Lake Bassett. 80 of us trained in state police, and we went up there, and we kind of have the freedom of up there, and I got to see every hockey game. I got to see us beating Russia, and I got to see us winning the gold. And it was just, you know, we were up there. I think the Olympics were only like 7 or 10 days there. We were up there, I think, 3 weeks, a week prior, a week after.
Yeah.
And it was probably the best time I've ever had in my life.
Isn't that
it was
great?
just to see all these athletes from all over the world. Eric Hayden, I saw every race he had.
Yeah.
It was just a great, great time, and to see and meet people from all over the world. It was an outstanding time. I was lucky enough to work the Ryder Cup in Oak Hill and work the U.S. Open at Oak Hill.
Yeah.
Guarded Prince Andrew, one of 2 people that got to guard Prince Andrew for the whole week that he was there, on duty, off
Isn't that
duty.
great?
It was just an outstanding time. And you know,
There's some
guys
buddies
like
right
that,
there in the job, you know.
sometimes like that, we got to meet all the players from the U.S. teams and the European team and their wives. We got to spend time with them and
Yeah.
dinners and stuff, and it was just, you know, it's once in a lifetime.
Yeah.
You know,
Isn't that
those
great?
things. And there was always times where, you know, you solved a good crime, solved a homicide. I worked a homicide detail just for 10 years up in Rochester and throughout the 10 counties.
And I don't know how
to
you
solve
do it.
those
Yeah,
crimes.
that's-
Those are great times when you can solve a crime and have closure to a family.
Yeah.
As bad as a homicide is, but to tell a family that, you know, we're sorry your sibling, your daughter, your son got killed, your parents got killed, but to make an arrest and know that somebody that did that is responsible, that we made an arrest on that, and that hopefully they'll spend the rest of their life in prison.
Yeah, I don't know how you or the other ones in the investigative business and even the police work. I say it all the time. I don't know how you do the jobs. I mean, I really don't. But it's rewarding. As you just pointed out, there's a lot of intangible rewards that
It sure is.
that come along with it.
I'll tell you this, for anybody that's listening out there in your audience, this is the best occupation in the world. I hope other people that, you know, have different occupations feel the same way, but being a police officer is the most rewarding occupation in the world. You can help somebody. If you feel like helping someone, you can help someone every day of your life.
Yeah.
It's great. It's a great occupation.
Which brings me to one of the other key questions, because you obviously, they can't see this in print, but this is all the stuff on the boards and all the volunteer stuff he did. It looks like my report cards under the comments section from the principal. You know, how do you volunteer? How do you know, you get people like ourselves that are on the retirement side. I mean, how do you just walk into a place? I'm here to volunteer. How do you volunteer for what? How do you volunteer? How do you get into the valuable part of volunteering?
I started a long time ago when I was started the troopers. We formed the domestic violence committee in this county, the child sexual abuse committee in this county. So I've been involved in, over my career, over 40 boards and committees and foundations that I've been on. I'm still actively on in well over 20 of them. I will stay when I retire. I'll stay involved in a lot of those
Good.
boards.
Good.
I'm not leaving the area. I'll be here. I was born here and I'll die here. So,
Yeah.
but there's nothing more rewarding than giving back to the community that has raised you, that you've lived in your whole in my case, my whole life. Giving back to people that are less fortunate, whether it be again, I'm on the United Way board, I'm on the hospital board, just different boards that you can make a difference in someone's life. My parents taught me that and instilled that in me.
Yeah.
My mother was born with polio back in the 20s. She walked with a limp foot her whole life. I'll never forget her and my dad going out collecting dimes. That's what it was back then.
Sure.
Dimes for polio.
Yep.
With a bunch of our
Remember
friends from
very
Cayuga.
well. Yep.
That's what instilled me to give back and to volunteer, because they used to do that every year. Walk door to door. They didn't ride. They didn't drive. They
No.
walked door to door,
Yeah.
literally collecting dimes,
Yeah.
giving it back to so no one else was ever
Oh, I
born with
remember those
polio.
days extremely well.
Yeah.
That's, and I hope that disease never comes back.
Oh my
A couple
God.
of years ago, they were talking about it coming back, and we had friends of ours here that I didn't know until later on in life were stricken with polio and that. And I remember kids, from school and that. But I mean, I think volunteering is really, especially when you get to our age, people want to volunteer. They want to say, okay, so for the exact reasons you just mentioned, say, okay, and myself included. I mean, I've been out of the area as far as traveling. I've been living here for 62, but I mean, been out of the area. So I said, I like to take my experiences and go out and do something.
Sure.
You
Help
sit
you.
back and you constantly rattle, well, all right, what do I do? I can sit on the corner, but
But if anybody that gets the Citizen, I'm not sure about Syracuse paper, anybody gets the Citizen newspaper, there's a section in there every week about what committees are looking for volunteers.
yeah,
So anybody that wants to volunteer, look at the Citizen,
all
read
right,
it.
that's a good tip.
Yeah, and there's boards and committees in there that are looking for volunteers all the time.
Well, let me tell you something. You're a great person.
Thank you, Bob.
You're a great man.
So are you. So
You're
are you.
great. I mean, you have a lot of attributes. That's pretty obvious with all this here. And I really appreciate you taking the time, because I know you're not busy, and to take the time and sit down.
It's my privilege. I mean, we've known each other a long time.
Yeah, a
You
long
are.
time.
Let me tell you, if anybody out there that doesn't know Bob, I think probably everybody does, that if you ever have a down day, you just get a hold of Bob Pettifeather, and he'll make you laugh no matter how sad you are, because you are the funniest man I've ever met in my life, and
And tell my wife
I'm
that.
very honored to know you, and,
Hey,
and certainly
listen.
to come here.
And hopefully you have many more years of
We will.
laughter and joking around. Enjoy retirement,
I will. I
because you
hope.
certainly deserve it. And stay in touch. We'll be bumping into each other. And thanks a lot for taking your time to come in and out of your busy schedule
You're welcome.
and sit with us.
I've been offered a lot of good jobs. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm going to stay in this community, and I'll do something. I can't sit still, so
No,
I'll be
you got to
around.
stay active. Don't.
And I'll be glad to come back someday, and we'll talk maybe after we have a beer or two. We can talk about it.
We get somebody to film us for free. Too.
Okay. It's my honor, Bob.
Listen,
You're a
take
great-
care of yourself,
great
buddy.
man, great friend.
You know,
Thank
you
you.
are too.
Thank you very
and
much.
it's a great interview, and we wish you the best.
Thank you
and
very
your
much.
lovely wife.
Thank
God
you.
bless her. But listen,
Yeah.
she's going to stay working, huh?
She's going to stay working.
Smart woman.
Merry Christmas to your audience, and
Hey.
may all your families and you always be healthy, because
Yeah.
the older you get, that's what means the most
No
in the world
question.
is being healthy. We've lost a lot of good friends this
Yeah,
year.
yeah.
A lot of good friends
We just
this
talked
year.
about the one this past weekend,
Yeah.
and that was
And
that
it's
was
just
awful. So
the older we get, the more friends we lose, and it's
Yeah.
so please take care of your health, everyone.
Merry Christmas to you
Merry
and the family.
Christmas, Bob. You too.
Stay healthy,
Thank you so much.
and thanks again for your time.
It's my honor.